If you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members.
And we are back. I'm Chris Evans, the CEO of Survival Dispatch. And tonight we're going to start with the first episode of a 12-episode series on the road to 9/11 2.0. Here's the thing, though. When we built the 12 episodes, we made it so that you could watch them out of order. You could skip one or two. They all stand on their own. So let's say a couple weeks from now, you didn't get to see maybe the second episode. That's okay. The third episode will still stand on its own. We'll have plenty of merit for you to watch. And we've got a stacked panel tonight, by the way. We've got JJ, isn't this awful? I was going to say JJ Morris, JJ Carroll. There's too many JJs around. My apologies. Khalid Muhammad's back, and we got Jeff and Randy as well. Mike Glover will be joining us later on this week for this series as well. But first and foremost, let's jump in on the conflicted question of the night. And if you're not familiar with this, conflictedthegame.com, these are questions that are typically set in a post-apocalyptic scenario. And the reason they're called conflicted is usually there is an element of morality that plays into it. So, do you think physical ability or knowledge will be more valuable to your group in a survival scenario? Would you rather team up with a 70-year-old female who lived through the Depression but is now crippled by arthritis? She knows how to live off the grid but needs almost every physical assistance. Or would you rather work with a 28-year-old man who only offers a strong back to your group? It's an interesting question. I actually think we may have addressed that several years ago, but happy to revisit it. Just a quick note, if you go to survivaldispatch.news, that takes you to our Substack. Sign up for a free account. You'll get our daily sit reps. You'll get our Saturday watch guide, because we know platforms like CommiTube have stopped, past 2 years, has stopped basically notifying y'all when we publish content. Get the Saturday watch guide in your inbox as links to everything that we publish. And as well as, in fact, want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, CCW Safe. The best self-defense coverage bar none. If you have self-defense insurance, it's not worth the paper it's written on. If you end up in a citizen-involved shooting and you get right towards the end, just before trial, and your attorney says, hey, the DA is offering a deal, you should take it. You should take the plea deal. Otherwise, you're risking going to prison, for 25, 30 years. At that point in time, the $400,000, which is the average amount of money that you would pay out to defend yourself, is owed back to that insurance company, because they cannot pay benefits to somebody who is in the process of breaking the law. 96% of criminal charges are pled out before they go to trial. So CCW Safe, there's a link down below. I spent 18 months going back and forth with all of these companies. No comparison. Of course, our friends at carnivalt.com, freeze-dried American meat, 100% no mRNA, no antibiotics, no hormones, grass-finished, not grass-fed, beef, chicken, steak. If you haven't seen Mike Glover's comparison of trail food last week, go on over to his channel. It's a phenomenal video. He did a great job. So with all of that aside, I want to bring on our panel tonight. So beside me, our in-house CIA operative, Jeff MD. Beside him, Khalid Muhammad from Command 11 in Pakistan, but also lived here for 25 years. Directly below him, Randy Nance, combat wounded Green Beret. My good friend, JJ Carroll, 24-year CBP special agent. Appreciate y'all joining tonight. So let's get right into the very first one, gentlemen, and it's Tulsi Gabbard. And let me make sure we got everybody on stage. There we go. All right. So did everyone catch what Tulsi Gabbard just said at the border yesterday? Now, this is going back a little bit because the whole premise of tonight's episode is the bad guys are already here. And we've got tons of intel to indicate they're already here. Kind of happens when you leave the front door wide open for 4 years, right? But this is a good video to listen to. Tulsi's got some valuable information here. 2 minutes, 20 seconds. Then going to you first, Jeff, then Khalid, then Randy, and wrapping up with JJ Carroll, and we'll just keep going in a circle like that.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, for your leadership in bringing the country's attention to what has been happening here at the border and the significant change that has already occurred under the short time that President Trump has been in office. Really, what you're seeing here today and what you'll continue to see is a unified effort across President Trump's national security team, the Department of Homeland Security, towards our mission, which is to ensure a safe, free, and prosperous society for Americans. As Director of National Intelligence, there are a number of areas where we are focused. The president talked about in his speech, over 21 million people have come across our borders illegally under Joe Biden's administration. There are many of them that we don't know who they are. They have not been vetted. We don't know where they are. I'll give you one quick example of one of the problems that we are getting after. From Central Asia, there were over 4,000 people who came across our borders using an ISIS-affiliated network. Our National Counterterrorism Center went through and identified those individuals. There were hundreds of them who were either known terrorists or associated with known terrorists. That information was provided to the Biden administration. You may remember in some of the news, a little over 100 of those people were arrested in 2024. Of those who were arrested, only 8 were either deported or remained in custody. Only 8. The rest of them were released back into our country. Where are they? What are they doing? What may they be plotting? This is just the beginning. There are many, many areas that we need to stay very focused on, working with Department of Homeland Security, working with the FBI to ensure that we're keeping the American people safe. Our Counterterrorism Center is working on making sure that we have that single source for vetting so that we can figure out who is actually in our country and identify those who pose a threat and get them removed. The president's designation of the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations falls directly into this, especially as we're seeing some of the tactics that these cartels are using reflect some of the tactics that we've seen used by Islamist terrorists in countries that many of us have served in overseas. Our mission is very clear. Our objective is to keep the American people safe. I'm grateful to be a part of this team that President Trump has assembled to accomplish that mission.
All right, so I'll stop that there. I just want to show a quick snippet from an article that I decided not to include in the broadcast. I just wanted this here. So this is what the other side thinks of this, by the way. Are terrorists flooding across the border? Probably not, said Teresa Cardinal Brown, a former Department of Homeland Security official under Presidents George W. Bush and Barack Obama. But at the same time, it is true that the large number of people arriving does have a national security implications. What a ridiculous statement. So I actually just had a look at my notes, and I'm going to reverse the order because I got to go to JJ first for this question because I know he's going to blow up right off the bat. Apologies for raising your blood pressure so quickly, JJ, but you worked the border for 24 years, 100,000 arrests, half a dozen special interest aliens that you arrested during a 24-year career, but we have hundreds of thousands of them that were let into the country. Number one, tell our audience what SIAs are, special interest aliens. Number two, what legal authority allowed the administration, the Biden administration, to release individuals who were positively identified as terrorists?
Well, special interest aliens, SIAs, they're terrorists. That's just a fancy word to make everyone feel warm and fuzzy. Special interest aliens. So they could be low level, like recruiters, low level messengers to ISIS recruiter. We the Border Patrol arrested right where I used to work on Spooner's Mesa, a top ISIS recruiter climbed over the fence and sat down and allowed the Border Patrol arrest him, and then they released him. You heard what Tulsi Gabbard said. Look, we've arrested thousands of these people, and they've only kept 8. They've only deported a handful. Special interest aliens, so your audience has an understanding of how grave this is. In 24-year career, I was involved with less than 5 special interest alien cases. 5. and I was a high producer. I'm talking about directly and indirectly watching all these large groups come in being arrested. Joe Biden, in 4 years, arrested and then released over 200,000 special interest aliens. Try to get your brain wrapped around what I just said. This is indisputable. It's not me crunching numbers and saying, okay, no, this is what our government admitted to. So you're going to sit there, your audience I know is smart. They're not going to sit there and believe, well, that must be it, right? The government's just telling us 200,000. Thank God it's only 200,000. Come on. Let's all get in the ball game called reality. And you asked me, what is the legal authority? There is no legal authority. Zero. Under the Immigration Nationality Act, called the INA, you are not allowed to release even the simplest gardener that's an illegal alien. It's against the law to release an illegal alien into America, period. Out of 100,000 people that I directly and indirectly arrested, do you know how many that I released from the border into America in 24 years? Wait for it. Zero. Until Joe Biden came into office. And then we released all of them. Every single person that crossed the border, 95 to 97% of the total 100% of people crossed the border were released into America. The ones that were, quote, deported were mainly Mexicans. Those Mexicans crossed the border. They went back to Mexico, and they crossed somewhere on the border where only 80% of the border was unmanned, meaning 80%, 1,600 miles of the 2,000 mile on the southern border, nobody was there for 4 years. I don't know how, I can't overstate this enough, that our government, the United States federal government, created a situation where now America is the most vulnerable it has ever been to attack. I don't believe, and I would love to hear everyone on the panel, I don't believe it's a if. I think it's a when and how badly we're attacked.
So, JJ, before I move to Randy, you were still stationed during the initial time of the Biden administration. But after you left, you had guys who worked underneath you for years calling and texting you saying that they had special interest aliens and that they were being forced to release them into the homeland. Just give me a quick recollection of that for our audience, just how egregious it was and what their thoughts were as well.
Okay, my guys, the same guys that were working with me on ATVs, chasing MS-13, same guys that were taking down El Chapo Guzman's drug loads at 2 o'clock in the morning on the beach with me, they called me and they said, I'm scared to death. And I'm like, how can you be scared? What are you talking about? I'm scared to death, JJ, because I'm releasing people into America I know are terrorists. I know they are. And let me give your audience just an idea, because I know we're going to throw around all kinds of acronyms. Joint Terrorism Task Force, JTTF. All they are is there to interview SIAs and terrorists. The FBI runs it, but all the alphabet agencies are in it, so we utilize everyone's authority. Anytime a special interest alien is arrested in the Border Patrol, that station gets locked down, meaning everything, all the energy focuses on a legal alien that's SIA. Task force comes in, interviews them, and if they're a terrorist, they take them away like Men in Black, and you never see them again. They're not released. They're just gone, right? Or they give them back to us and say, I can't make the match. Go ahead and deport them back to Sudan. We never released them. I would go to jail for corruption, or I'd at least have my badge and gun taken away from me if I did it. It got so bad in the Border Patrol, in the Southwest border, guys, that JTTF didn't have enough agents to go and interview people. So they left it to the basic journeyman agent, Border Patrol agent, and he had no idea what he was doing, and they began to release them all. That's why you're seeing report after report after report of known ISIS terrorists, known Al-Qaeda terrorists, known whatever terrorist was arrested and released into America accidentally because the Border Patrol was overwhelmed and our government did not care. Because in order to transform a nation, you have to create chaos. And they created it.
Yeah, thank you for the explanation, JJ. I knew if I pass it off to you right out of the gate.
Well, thanks for getting me all worked up on freaking. I thought I was going to be at the bottom of the list. At least I could just kind of chill out and let some of this hate go out of my body. But you pushed me right to the front. Thanks a lot, Chris.
Well, it's out of love, I can assure you. So
yeah, I'm sure it is.
Randy, next question for you, and I don't expect a definitive answer per se, but I definitely like to hear your opinion on it. How does releasing known terrorists into our communities align with anything that even remotely resembles a national security strategy? I mean, what was the motivation behind this, Randy, in your opinion?
Well, as I've said on the show many times, and we all know this, the people at the top that are making these plans, because if you have the power to do that, right? If you have the power to shut down the border, how many individuals are we talking about in the country that have the power and the authority to do that? Not too many, right? And then the people running them, somebody's telling them to do this. And you have to realize these are smart people that are coming up with these plans. Why are they so insidious? Why are they working so well? And why are they so disguised so well? It's because smart, very intelligent people are coming up with this plan. It is called a strategy. And you have to ask yourself, why would any country do that? And why all of a sudden will America do that? I saw what Robert says, it's too late because there's terrorists been here since the 80s, which is true. But that's not why it's too late, Robert. It's too late because of the last 4 years where it wasn't just the front door open, the front, the back, the side, and all the windows. The garage door was wide open. People could come in. And when you see people do that, like right now, they've all stopped. And it's not just because the border is getting locked down. It's because the word went out, right? Somebody had to pass that word out that, hey, everybody and anybody, and even if you're a terrorist, come on in. We're not going to stop you. We're not going to hinder you. We're not going to impede you whatsoever. In fact, we're even going to help you. And, it'd be interesting to see how many, if any of those ended up on, some of our programs getting, Social Security and Medicare and other benefits. I'd be curious to see if that's the case or not. But, that's what we have to ask ourselves. How can this happen? It didn't happen by accident, folks.
The GAO, which I don't believe their numbers, but the GAO says that last year we spent $451 billion on illegal aliens. So in my mind, if they're saying it's $451 billion, it's probably $1 trillion.
Oh, it's more. It's more, a lot more.
Absolutely it is. So Khalid, to you next. You're an intelligence guy. You've lived here. You've lived in the Middle East. Where are these terrorists that came across the border? And do we have any eyes on them that you know of, or are they just running free?
No, the problem is Biden, I don't know who gave Biden the advice to do this. You opened up the borders without any kind of vetting at all. I mean, you handed over, when you handed over Afghanistan to the Taliban, it became a field day. Not only did you have illegals coming across, but you had the Haqqani network that was running fake passports every Thursday. Terrorist Thursday is what it was called. Was that every Thursday they were making passports for terrorists so they could come into the United States. And there was no vetting, there was no checking. They were coming in and they were disappearing. The model that we understand, these are people coming from Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, Somalia, Pakistan, men from everywhere in the Middle East. They were all coming. And the problem you had is as soon as they landed in the US, they had already been given a piece of paper with an address and a telephone number. They would land, they would call, they would disappear. And they would be melded into Muslim populations, and you would never find them. To this day, I am still beating my head against the wall with the CIA to get eyes on, because you are talking 12 to 18,000 terrorists that are inside of sleeper cells right now inside the US. That's not counting handlers. That's not counting financiers. These are actual physical attacker terrorists. Forget the support network, the engineers, the labor force, the construction guys, that are electricians that are also coming into the country. They have come in, they have been quickly placed, they've been into a Muslim community, and they've disappeared. If you look at our assessment, we put in there very clearly profiles. These are your terrorists. These are your military-aged male attackers. These are the people that are part of the support network. If any of these groups disappear, start counting the clock, because that means they're getting ready to attack. I know of 3 areas inside the US where we were monitoring from Pakistan, where you had radical mosques that the people that we were watching have disappeared. They are no longer seen in public. Now, you tell me, as an intelligence operative, how do I not say the attack is coming?
Follow-up question, Khalid, just because you touched on it briefly there. In one of your papers, I read something to the effect that the frontline guys, the frontline jihadis who are going to carry out these attacks, most of the time when they get here, they hole up in a building, a home, and they don't leave until they get the call to go. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right. That's exactly right. Look, the way it works, the way the terror cells have been set up, you have the support network, which is basically providing food. They're doing the shopping so that the actual jihadi is never seen in public. So the jihadi, his handler, they're all set up in one home, 2 homes, 3 homes that have been rented under a false name, and they're set up there and they never leave. The people that are bringing them food are your support network. And those are labor, electricians, plumbers, construction workers, that their movement is no issue. The problem you've got is that we were watching the support networks because they were physically available for us to watch. They've disappeared in 3 cities. 3 cities where we were watching, they have disappeared. It has now been 2 weeks where we have not seen one person anywhere in public.
That doesn't instill a lot of confidence in me, to be honest with you, Khalid.
Chris, can I add something to what Khalid just said?
Ahead.
I want the audience to understand everything he just said is one. Not that you need me, sir, to validate you, but I want to collaborate. I want to also say through my sources that I spoke to in depth. You're absolutely correct. Let me give you an example. In Philadelphia, after we had that debacle in Afghanistan, where we flew in all those people, they were using the Philadelphia International Airport as the landing base. And I'm talking to a supervisor in ICE and customs in the intake. He says they were intaking people in fatigues, war fighting fatigues. They were giving them, because they could not speak English, they could not speak whatever, or just acted like it. And they did not know their date of birth because they were using some kind of ancient calendar. So what we were doing, we were actually giving them brand new names, making them up out of whole cloth, giving them brand new birth dates. We were guessing what their birth date would be. And then I said, okay, you gave them a brand new, you gave guys that you knew were terrorists or thought were terrorists, brand new IDs. And then what did you do with them? Well, we watched them walk out the door, like you said, had a slip of paper. They called an Uber on their cell phone and they disappeared, and we have no idea where they are.
Yeah.
86,000 of those people came into America from Afghanistan. And do you know, and this, look it up, Google me, not one single person out of the 86,000 were formally interviewed.
Yeah.
They were just released into America.
Yep.
Yeah, it's staggering. So, Jeff, last but not least, a couple questions for you. Number one, in your opinion, how many American lives do you think are at risk? And then the next part to that is there anything in place that you know of that you can speak to that would potentially ferret out these bad guys, stop them in their tracks, prevent attacks on America? You're on mute, Jeff.
As far as how many people are at risk, it's hard to say. A lot, because you got all these guys, and if they decide to go out and do terrible things all at once, it could be, thousands upon thousands and thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, all across the country, big towns and small. As far as, is there something in place to do something about it? Not that I'm aware of. I worked with the JTTF. We weren't on the JTTF because JTTF was limited to police officers and we had no arrest authority. But we worked with them, and I would trace people when they would find people down on the border, or they'd pick them up in town. I ran a lot of traces for the JTTF, trying to figure out who these clowns were. But no, I don't. I mean, if they release them into the wind, and you have no idea who they are, you have no idea where they're going, how in the hell are you going to trace them? How are you going to try and find them? There's not some magic decoder ring that you can go, okay, here they are. It doesn't work that way. They're gone until they do something.
Well, especially when they've been given new IDs that are legal and new. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and they're now Bill Smith. Okay.
Not that I doubt Jeff at all. I just want to get to the gravity of the situation. I'll go JJ, Randy, Khalid. Is there anything that you guys know of that's in place to catch these guys before they unleash an attack on America? JJ?
No, you listen to Christopher Wray all the way back in 2024 in giving congressional testimony, and they asked him, how many of these terrorists are they? And he shrugged his shoulders and he goes, we have no idea. There's so many people came over, and he looked over to Alejandro Mayorkas as if to tell the congressman, that's who you got to ask, not me. We have no idea how many people are over here. He said in front of 3,000 sheriffs at the annual sheriff conference in 2024, I believe it was, he says there are more red flags right now than there were before 9/11. Wake up, America. Wake up.
Wake up for sure. That's the frustrating part is a lot of people, they hear this and they completely dismiss it. And we're talking people in official positions, included Randy, then Khalid. Is there anything you can think of that we have to catch these guys in advance now that they're loose?
It's, like pretty much everybody on the panel has said, not people aren't, thank God, right? We don't all have a tracker inside of us, where right now it'd be convenient that we could just pull them up and find them on the map somewhere. But the fact is, we should never do that. I don't think other than that there really is. I have no doubt that there are some techniques that we could use on chatter and stuff like that. But as Khalid has mentioned, some of these guys are going to go silent. And then we have to look at everything else that we've seen, whether it be Antifa's tactics in LA or what we're seeing all these terrorist cells. And we saw that grow over the time of GWAT, whether it was Afghanistan or Iraq. Those tactics began to evolve as they always do. The battlefield is constantly evolving, just like we're watching in Ukraine and Russia right now with all the UAV tactics. Think about all that's come out of there. But when these people go silent, what are you going to do? There's no way to track them. And they've gotten smart. We've helped educate them on how to do this. So we can expect something probably.
Khalid?
Yeah, the problem is that to be able to track somebody, you've got to be able to see them. And these guys are never coming out of their houses. And your problem is like I said, sitting in Pakistan, we're watching certain cities in the U.S. where we know there's a Hezbollah cell, we know there's a Hamas cell, we know there's an AQ cell, we know there's an ISIS cell. We're watching cities. But when people disappeared, we don't know where they've gone because no one's tracking them. Part of our problem, and I'm going to address this as gently as I can, part of our problem is political correctness. That I don't want to approach the law enforcement officials and say, well, I saw this group of Muslims. They were talking in this weird language. And as soon as I walked by, they all went quiet. And then as soon as I got a little bit away from them, they started talking again. That stupid PC behavior is going to cost us lives. And the number of people I have been talking to, I get a lot of people sending us emails here in Pakistan that are in different groups with us, that follow us on X, that know that we've been watching this threat, that have sent us, intelligence, pictures from cities of extremists. And I'm going, listen, do me a favor, throw the PC in the garbage, go to your law enforcement and say, hey, look, this is the license plate number. Track this car down. Find out who these people are. And I am literally trying to motivate people from the other side of the world to throw PC away and just say something, because tomorrow that guy you may be questioning or kind of hesitant about, maybe the one carrying an AR-15 walking into the Walmart.
Yeah.
And you need to throw the PC away because you don't know when they're going to show up.
Yeah, appreciate that, Khalid. I just want to add from a logical perspective, meaning online stuff. Logic meaning anything that happens online is essentially considered like a logical intel versus physical intel that Khalid just described. The problem is that these guys do communicate with people overseas, but in both directions. Not only are they using VPNs, they're bouncing off of multiple proxies in between. And then you add a layer of encryption on top of that. So the computing power that it would take to break the encrypted communications, we'll all be pushing tulips before that happens. There's just not enough compute power available for it. But the other part to it is we used to be able to look at, we knew where one party was, we knew what their IP address was, we could tie that to a physical location. And even though we couldn't read their messages, we could see where the endpoints were over here. And then we could go and potentially interview somebody, make contact on this side. They've gotten sophisticated now. They use the same tools that we use, meaning coming from high tech, where you just bounce it off of all these other IP addresses. There's no way that you can even identify who's talking to who in that type of scenario. So let's move on to the next video here. This is a pretty interesting one. Got a suspected terrorist captured. A Hezbollah-linked financier crossed the southern border in 2021. Biden let him move to Dearborn, and I've been hounding ICE to act for 3 years. This is one of the good guys, by the way. They finally got him. After 3 years of doing whatever he pleased, Issam Bazi, the first person ever allowed entry into the U.S. despite being designated as a known or suspected terrorist, was apprehended in Dearborn during a routine traffic stop. The 54-year-old Venezuelan was pulled over last week on the I-94 entrance ramp at Michigan Avenue by undercover ICE agents who had been surveilling him for weeks. Bazi was served with an arrest warrant and taken into custody. Apparently, he was on his way to work at a Ypsilanti diner. Now, I'm not going to read the rest of this because it's super long, but 2-minute, 33-second video. It's interesting. And hats off to this gentleman, by the way, being so tenacious and getting this known terrorist out of our country.
Did he wash dishes? Oh, here, take this.
Now, why is this guy giving me the finger?
Get the out of here. Out, thank you.
Because I got his buddy locked up by ICE last week. That's why. His buddy, a guy named Issam Bazi, is a high-level known or suspected terrorist, according to classified federal documents. A guy with ties to Hezbollah and the authoritarian regime of Venezuela.
Allegedly.
Even so, the Biden administration knowingly let him into the country anyway 3 years ago. A first.
What a stupid son of a bitch.
Señor Bazi. Es Carlitos Leduff, el periodista. Tú eres un terrorista, señor. Señor Bazi.
We, the people, paid for Bazi's ticket to Dearborn, Michigan, where he lived with his family. This is his dad.
Is he home?
No. Police, yeah.
Oh, the police. Oh, they took him. Immigration?
Yes.
Oh.
Bazi claimed asylum at the Rio Grande River when he was caught 3 years ago. Unbelievably, he was given permission to work, a social security number, and even issued a driver's license. Bazi got pulled over here by a fugitive strike team last week on his way to his job at a diner in Ypsilanti. Sheesh.
Hi.
Hello.
Does this man work here?
Yeah, he's not here today though.
No, he's not coming back. Immigration picked him up. He's a wanted terrorist.
Allegedly.
Trippy, right?
Okay.
Okay.
What
Thank
do you
you.
want me to do?
Nothing. Just tell the boss he won't be coming back.
Okay.
Okay.
Normally when I go to a diner, I leave a tip. This time the angry owner gave me the tip of his middle finger.
Here, take this. Get the out of here. Out, thank you. Go out. Did he wash dishes? Go out.
Maybe he's the lawyer.
Bazi will wait for his appeal behind bars in Baldwin, Michigan, here at the Lake County Leavenworth. The lunch menu apparently has a large selection of halal, and that's good.
Assam, good. Good.
Did he wash dishes?
JJ, I got to ask you, how on earth does it take 3 years to get a known terrorist out of the country like that? God bless that guy for the hard work, by the way.
Because Joe Biden wanted him here. Alejandro Mayorkas wanted him here. They opened the border. Look, before Joe Biden took office, they made a calculated decision that they were going to open the border And they had to have a tabletop, meaning they had to sit down and say, okay, what is going to happen when we do this, when we try to fundamentally transform America? Somebody in there had to have said, well, let's look at the data of the last 5 years. And now let's expedite that. Let's times it times 1,000, about 1 million, times it times whatever multiple you believe is going to happen, because that is going to happen. They had to know this. It's like the child sex trafficking. They had to know that was going to explode. They had to know the SIAs were going to explode. Our government did this to us. Our own government has destroyed the sovereignty of America. You want to look at Dearborn, Michigan? Dearborn, Michigan is an Islamic territory now. We succeeded it to them, to the Islamists. I don't know if I could say this any more clearly. The enemy of the American people is our own government. I have been stating that without hesitation, without any kind of remorse. That is just the truth. The people that are the most evil, the most sexually perverse, and the biggest traitors and hate America the most are the people that are running our country. And that's the truth.
Watch me wind JJ up here. So I watched your testimony.
Oh God, do we have to go back to that?
Yes, we do.
That's your go-to gas to throw in the file. Go ahead.
It's exactly what it is. So JJ testifies in front of Congress. Of course, they control your mic and how long you can speak and everything. And I watched one Democrat House of Representatives member after another say that JJ, with 24 years as a special agent, was not an authority on anything to do with the border or illegal aliens or terrorists or anything like that whatsoever. What do you say to that, JJ?
She's right. She's right. And you're talking about the illegal alien, the fat, obese illegal alien from Guatemala. Her name is Dalia Ramirez. So we have illegal aliens in the houses of Congress that have self-admitted to being illegal aliens. That's why our government is so broken, because we have people that have no allegiance to America and they have allegiance to their own country. And that fat wildebeest, Dalia Ramirez from Guatemala, openly admitted in the House of Congress that she crossed the border illegally with her mother inside of her mother's belly when she was pregnant with her. And it's unbelievable that a U.S. citizen, somebody that is a patriot like myself, that served in the United States Border Patrol for 24 years, has to sit there and have to take the verbal abuse from an illegal alien and chastise me about being a white nationalist and having no identity about being on the border is symbolic of how far we have gone as a nation. That we have illegal aliens that sit there and have power and authority over U.S. citizens. It's disgusting.
It's unbelievable. Dude, what's your heart rate's at, by the way, JJ?
Oh, you know what? I'm going to get my turn here, and something's going to happen, and God's going to give me a lot more power and authority, and he's going to give righteous men like myself an opportunity to correct all these wrongs. And when that happens, history has proven that we don't show a one bit of quarter for these people, that Amen. We bring them to their knees and then we punish them to the fullest extent of the law, and we don't show any remorse or regret. We just go through and we burn everything to the ground. And I really believe that there's no other way that this is going to correct itself, because the depth of the corruption is incomprehensible right now. I don't believe anyone understands the depth of vulnerability and the depth of the people that have allowed this to happen. We are run by traitors in this country.
Hey, JJ, just so you know, Chris has a life insurance policy on you, and he's the beneficiary, and he keeps asking these questions, hoping you'll have a heart attack and die so he can cash in.
I bet he does.
Don't fall for it.
I'm trying not to.
It's a trap.
If Chris really wanted me to die, he would have showed me that pig's face and then put her words behind him like AI
in
my head. I know, man. I know. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I will never, ever go testify in front of Congress again. That is absolutely kabuki theater. Unbelievable. I know this. I'll say this and I'll shut up. I know this for absolute fact, that the dumbest people in our society are ruling over us in our government. I believe that. I know it for a fact. I've witnessed it. I looked at them. I could smell them from where they were. And they are not impressive people at the least. Both parties.
They're bad actors. It's political theater. It's not serious, not at all. Randy, question for you, and it's kind of, you know, not exact. It's a nebulous question, so I don't expect like a hard answer on this. But how do you think we could entice other Americans to show 1/10 of the motivation that guy had to track down somebody that was a known terrorist and get them out of our frickin' country?
Well, Chris, to do that, you know why he is? Because he looks like JJ and the rest of us on this panel. He knows what's going down. The problem is the vast majority of the public, and that includes people that consider themselves MAGA, are on the right. And definitely the people on the left, they can't even see the truth anymore. So you have to believe this is going on first, and that you need to do something about it. And in fact, from the Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, and the Bill of Rights, in those two documents alone, it basically said it is our duty to do so, as JJ's mentioned. If something is going down like that, it is our duty as a citizen to do something about it. But the problem is so many people want to turn a blind eye to it. Then we have a large portion of society right now, including in America, they have their own little something going on, right? So they people tend to then allow things, they turn a blind eye and don't really look it down. So people are going to have to realize how serious it really is before you would get more Americans to actually do that. And unfortunately, it may be too late or after whatever next happens, because as you know, just like any other time, we've had any type, whether it was September 11th, all the way back to Pearl Harbor, you know, in those instances, everybody walked in and signed up for a reason. And so we still believe in America that way. But right now, you know what I think? It's that herd mentality, right? 85% of the people just want to keep shuffling ahead like nothing's going on, and maybe we'll get through it. You know, 10% people will get upset about it, but when they look around, everybody else is still marching, so they march. And only us, the 5%, ever think that there's something worth doing it about. And that's why you see the system crush that small section of people. That's a message to the other 95%. And, you know, as JJ mentioned, these people have done this intentionally. Mm-hmm. And when he talks about the dumbest people are in Congress right now, that's because the people running the show that have all the money they put those people in that place for that exact
true reason.
Yeah,
true. Awesome answer, by the way, Randy. So, Khalid, I'm going to speed things up a little bit, and I appreciate everybody's feedback. I just want to be respectful of people's time. So I'm going to play the next video here. It's for you and Jeff. Then I'll do another one for JJ and Randy just to expedite things a bit. So this is a post that was made by Sarah Adams. Khalid and his group have shared all kinds of information with her, by the way. Again, he's the guy who broke the story on Tier 1 trauma centers being the target of the next AQ attacks here on America that was not picked up until recently. But this is some testimony here from former Border Patrol Chief Aaron Heitke. Do you know this guy, by the way, JJ?
He's my chief. Yep. And my question to him, sir, screw it. Just listen to him.
Well, we'll go to Khalid and Jeff, but I want to hear your thoughts. I didn't realize it was that close to you, but I'll give you a chance to weigh in for sure because I want to hear it. 1 minute and 40 seconds. I don't think we need to play this whole video, but I'll play a good chunk of it.
In San Diego, we had an exponential increase in significant interest aliens. These are aliens with significant ties to terrorism. Prior to this administration, the San Diego sector averaged 10 to 15 SIA arrests per year. Once word was out the border was far easier to cross, San Diego went to over 100 SIAs in 2022, well over that in 2023, and even more than that registered this year. These are only the ones we caught. At the time, I was told I could not release any information on this increase in SIAs or mention any of the arrests. The administration was trying to convince the public there was no threat at the border. Fentanyl is another issue. The San Diego area sees between 80 and 90% of the methamphetamine and fentanyl seizures annually for our entire country. With little enforcement at the border, these drugs were coming through in mass. During my last year in San Diego, the price for a single pill of fentanyl, for example, went from $10 to 25 cents. To make matters worse, during 2022 and 23, I had to shut down San Diego traffic checkpoints, which are critical for drug interdiction, because the resources had been diverted to the process and release mission. The large numbers also had and still have a negative impact on the San Diego community. I had to release illegal aliens by the hundreds each day into communities who could not support them. To quiet the problem, 2 flights a week were provided from San Diego to Texas. These flights simply brought aliens that would have been released in San Diego over to Texas.
So I'm going to go ahead and stop it there. And actually, JJ, while it's fresh, just say your piece on this guy and then straight to you, Khalid.
This is Chief Heike. He was my chief, my last chief in the United States Border Patrol in San Diego sector. My question to Mr. Heike is and I know him. We've had meetings together. My question to you, sir, is you were releasing SIAs and you did nothing to stop it. You didn't say a damn word about it. You just sat there and collected a check in order to get your high 3 and to get a higher retirement. You should be ashamed of yourself.
JJ, just how many Border Patrol officials do you think, ballparkish, were giving similar orders to him to suppress this terrorist-related data, not to release it to the public?
That had to come straight from Alejandro Mayorkas through the Chief Ortiz, who's the chief. He's a big bumbling fool, and all of the assistant chiefs in that whole cabal up in Washington, D.C. If I was President Trump, I would have gone in the first day and I would have fired every single person in a position of authority in Washington, D.C. over the United States Border Patrol. They'd all be gone, all of them. People like Chief Heike would have been gone too because you allowed it to happen. You didn't have the courage to say no. You didn't have the courage to say no. And what do we all of us know that are in military and law enforcement? We swear an oath to the country, not to a president, not to the chief, not to anybody. We swear an oath that we will not follow unconstitutional orders and we will do no harm to the United States of America, period. And that was drilled into us through the academy and through proper training throughout my career. You have a moral obligation, a professional obligation to not follow unconstitutional orders. And when they're given to you, you cannot follow them and wash your hands. You become complicit in the crime.
So one of these days, I'm pretty sure JJ's going to come out of his shell, but we'll work with him on that. Khalid, question for you. If these guys at his level were ordered to hide information from Congress and the public, I mean, I'm not expecting a hard answer either on this one, but you're an intel guy. What other critical security information was ordered, do not disclose to the public, do not disclose to Congress? Because if it's like for every rat that you see, there's 1,000 rats that you don't see. So I'm just curious from your perspective, what you think.
Well, look, I mean, the first conversation starts with how many human beings have come across the border. And you don't know where they've gone. Then you start talking about how much drugs have come across the border, how many weapons have come across the border, and what kind of weapons have come across the border. I can tell you for a fact that the cartels were working directly with Hezbollah, with Al-Qaeda, with ISIS, in moving U.S. weaponry into the United States. And they were moving it very clean. Nobody stopped them. Nobody bothered them. We are estimating that of what was left in Afghanistan, almost $1 billion in weapons has been moved into the United States.
Wow.
Just give that for a thought for a second. 12 to 18,000 terrorists, $1 billion in weapons. What kind of mayhem are you planning for the U.S.? And the problem is that when we talk like this, people go, oh, you're trying to scare us. You're just talking. You don't have any proof. I cannot put intelligence in front of you. You don't understand it. That the normal person out there, it's like Randy said, 80% of the people are walking that sheep herd and they're just following the leader. And wherever the leader leads them, they go, and they don't turn their head to the left. They don't turn their head to the right. They just keep walking straight. That 5-10% that actually knows what's going on and is trying to wake everybody up is the one that's being shut up. Last episode, if you remember, we talked about the censorship that's come down on all of us. That if you dare to talk about a threat to the U.S., X censors you. YouTube censors you because you're talking about a threat. What is your problem with me talking about a threat? I am trying to inform people. I'm trying to wake people up to something that's going to happen. There's going to have catastrophic results inside of the country and for the entire world. Why do you have a problem with me talking about that? When you talk about the government and what they did with just Border Patrol, they didn't do it with just Border Patrol. They did it across the board. The media went quiet. They started spitting a narrative of their own. social media was controlled. So certain people were deplatformed, were removed from social media so they couldn't talk at all. It's just unbelievable where we're at.
It is. Jeff, I want to get your insight here. Is there no accountability at any level inside these agencies where they have to reveal the truth, or if they don't reveal the truth, that's just as bad as telling a lie?
Well, they're supposed to. I mean, when I was in the agency, and they said, you have a duty to report illegal activity if you come across it. If someone confides in you something and they're doing something illegal, and I would tell them, I said, man, you tell me something you're doing illegal, I got to report it. And I had guys that they were talking about, paying bribes in foreign countries and stuff like that. And I was like, I have to document it. And they're like, yeah, go ahead. Everybody else does it too. So I'm not too worried about it, when they were right, because everybody else was doing it. But at the same time, if someone doesn't do it, there really is no accountability. We saw that during the Biden years. I mean, look at what the FBI did. They're getting some now, but they've all got immunity, and statute of limitations has run out. I doubt anyone's spent a minute in jail for it. You think about this, the blatant lies about, Hunter Biden's laptop, the Russia hoax and Hillary Clinton's creation of it, all of that, somebody somewhere with a conscience should have stood up and said, what you're doing is illegal, it's unconstitutional, and it's just freaking wrong. But nobody did. Even the once people who said, I'm not going to change my analysis, they would say, well, then you won't get promoted. But guess what? A lot of them signed on to it. There were, I think, 8 CIA guys who there was a piece of analysis that the government didn't like. I think it was on COVID, on the origins of the virus, and they said, no, we don't believe that wet market story. Well, then someone goes and talks to them, and then a week later, yeah, we buy into the wet market story. I don't know if they got paid off or threatened, but they changed their story, and nothing bad happened to anybody involved.
So the next video I've got is from Fox News, and it's some analysis and commentary on the chief's video in front of Congress. I just want to quickly add that because fentanyl was mentioned, fentanyl has to enter your body through a membrane. So, under your tongue, in your eyeballs, those sort of things. Swallow it. If you touch it and you don't have an open sore, it's not going to kill you. So there was a female cop, I think she was here in Florida actually last week, and they had it on film, and she came in contact with fentanyl, and then she hit the deck, and everybody was saying, well, she was fentanyl exposure. It absolutely was not fentanyl exposure. I'm not saying that it's anything to mess around with, but you can touch fentanyl. It's not going to kill you. It has to penetrate through a membrane. And that includes carfentanil, which is one of the 1,400 analogs of fentanyl. Carfentanil is 100 times more powerful than the base analog is. Anyway, moving on to this next analysis here from Brett Baier. It's 3 minutes, 42 seconds. I'm definitely not going to play the whole video, but a decent chunk. Then to you first, JJ.
Good evening. Welcome to Washington. I'm Brett Baier. Breaking tonight's startling new numbers showing a dramatic increase in the number of individuals who may be on the terror watch list, caught trying to enter this country illegally since 2021. And the latest figures don't even account for the known gotaways, those folks who slipped into the country undetected. This comes amid a very serious accusation up on Capitol Hill from a high-ranking border official of interference by the Biden-Harris administration. The former chief of the San Diego Border Patrol says he was muzzled from discussing concerns about terrorism. Correspondent Griff Jenkins starts us off tonight with this. Good evening, Griff.
Good evening, Brett. This is the stuff that keeps the chief of the Border Patrol up at night, the growing threat of a terrorist slipping across our border.
382 individuals whose names appear on the terror watch list were stopped trying to cross the U.S.-Mexico border illegally between ports of entry from fiscal year 2021 to date. This is compared to the 11 individuals apprehended between 2017 and 2020.
CBP stats show a more than 3,000% increase, Brett, in the number of individuals caught between the ports of entry, matching the terror watch list under the Biden-Harris administration.
I'm going to stop it there. JJ, that number 382 over 3 years, 2021 to 2024, I don't believe it based on all of the other intel that's been released. What are your thoughts?
I don't. It's absurd, right? I see these numbers Fox put out, and you're like, wait a minute, wait. You've arrested 200,000 special interest aliens, and you found 342 on a terrorist watch list. But let's play the game. And Khalid, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. As I tell my 13-year-old son when he's talking to me about a terrorist watch list, what's the terrorist watch list? I said, son, in order to believe the terrorist watch list is all-consuming, meaning that the United States federal government and all of the intel agencies in Western Europe have gone through and thoroughly interviewed all 8.2 billion people on planet Earth and brought together this document that has every terrorist on it. Do you know how absurd that is? That it's absolutely asinine. Let me give you an example of how crazy this is. San Diego sector, that's where this chief was from, and my old station. My buddies were sending me pictures of groups of 1,500 single adult military-age men from the continent of Africa and Middle East because the cartels decided that the Pacific coastline, that little area, it's about a 5-mile area where I used to work, was going to be the epicenter of all of those people. All of those people were going to cross into San Diego sector. And he would show me the up-close pictures of these guys, and they would say, tell me which one is not a terrorist. Don't tell me which ones are. That's going to take forever. Show me the ones that are not. So the idea, this fantasy land, and this is all propaganda. And Khalib, I love to hear your take on this. This is all propaganda to make us Americans feel safe. Look at the terror watch list. They weren't on it. They're okay. Move along. You see the absurdity of this? You trust your government, our government, to run a live and current and on the spot terror watch list? Are you insane, man?
So, Khalid, go ahead and field that. Randy, I'll give the next video to you and Jeff just because JJ.
JJ's hit the mark. I mean, the idea of a terror watch list, you're joking. You are talking about people that have been involved in terrorism for the past 20, 30 years. You are not talking about their children. You are not talking about new recruits. You are not talking about people that have been radicalized online that you don't even have a clue about. You are talking about people that you have known since the 1990s that have been involved in Al-Qaeda, Haqqani Network. They've been involved in Jamaat Islamiyah. These are all people that you know, that you kind of have an idea, you have an old picture of. Here in Pakistan, we don't have a terror watch list. We have a red book that's put out by the police. And 95% of the pages on the red book has a name and no picture. How do I identify a terrorist with no picture? And you're talking about a watch list that is fictional, to say the least. These are people that you don't know if they're alive or dead. You don't know where they are. You don't know what they're doing. You're creating names, but you don't have any idea about the guys that are in the camps right now. You don't know the idea. You don't know what name they crossed the border with. You don't know what name they were changed to once they crossed the border. I mean, let me just give you a picture. JJ can cover this one. Once they cross the border, you may change. They come in with a passport that's a fake passport. Once they move into the U.S., they burn that passport. JJ, I'm sure, has seen on the San Diego sector the number of ID cards, passports that have been dumped as soon as people have crossed the border.
Yep.
Now, once that piece of paper is gone, whatever name I make up for myself, there's a guy inside the U.S. that's responsible for giving me paper, my driver's license, my social security number, everything. It's his responsibility. So whatever name you have on that list doesn't exist anymore. You don't have biometrics on me. You don't have any information on me. So how are you going to ID me as a terrorist once I've crossed that border? It's fiction. This is fiction.
So, Khalid, you mentioned you don't know if people are alive or dead. How long was Hamza bin Laden presumed to be dead and was just recently confirmed to actually be alive?
He was supposedly killed in 2019. He was reconfirmed as being alive by Sarah and her team, and we supported that belief, because the number of meetings that we have heard about in Afghanistan and how close we've gotten ourselves. Hamza 2021, 2022 was reconfirmed as alive. He was hiding in Iran. This is what people aren't understanding. When the U.S. invaded Afghanistan, most of your Al-Qaeda leadership moved to Iran, moved to Pakistan, moved to Iraq, and went into hiding until things became stable. Then they came back to Afghanistan.
Crazy. Jeff, quick question for you. Then I got this video of this for you and Randy. What type of whistleblower protections are in place in these federal agencies? Does it vary from agency to agency, or is there some federal umbrella that covers people who speak their conscience?
I think there is like a Whistleblowers Act that's supposed to, protect you. It doesn't.
Okay.
Nope.
You get suspended, and maybe with pay, probably without. If you work in federal law enforcement or intelligence or in the military, first thing they do is suspend your security clearance.
Mhm.
So that means you can't do your job. And if you can't do your job, they won't pay you. And the FBI is notorious for doing this to the guys who were complaining about the Jan 6 arrest. They just basically, and then they wouldn't let them get a side job. They can't, they don't get paid. They don't have security clearance. They're not working, but they say, oh yeah, if you go and work at Home Depot just to put food on the table, you didn't get out. You got to file an outside activities request. You didn't do that, so we're going to fire you for that. Then
Wow.
It becomes an administrative violation.
That's insane.
Yeah.
All right. So next one up here. I'm not going to read anything here. I'm just going to play the video. It's 2 minutes, 15 seconds. Then Randy first, then Jeff.
As terror suspects continue crossing into the U.S., Customs and Border Protection is denying a Fox News Freedom of Information Act request and appeal for more information on exactly where they're coming from, what countries. Chief Correspondent Jonathan Hunt is live with details on this. Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning, Brett. Customs and Border Protection says this is simply about national security, and to reveal details of those on the terror watch list crossing the border would endanger that security. Now, Fox had asked just for the nationalities of those crossing, simply to see where the potential terrorists coming into the U.S. are coming from. According to Border Patrol figures, 422 potential terrorists have been encountered at our borders so far this year. The majority of those, 283, at our northern border. That total, by the way, is about twice the number encountered in 2020. But in denying our request for information on those apprehended, CBP wrote, quote, a release of this information would reveal CBP investigative techniques used in apprehending and processing terrorists. Such a release would enable potential violators to design strategies to circumvent the border security techniques developed and employed by CBP in its mission to secure the border and enforce immigration laws by allowing potential violators to better prepare themselves to evade and exploit U.S. immigration and other laws. Excuse me. And in what would appear to be an admission that there are indeed weaknesses on the border, CPB also said, quote, the disclosure of the nationalities of known suspected terrorists that were apprehended by CBP, as opposed to not apprehended, could signal any vulnerabilities in CBP's law enforcement efforts of the U.S. borders or shortcomings within the U.S. government's national security mission. So the bottom line here, Brett, from the CBP, is that if the information is released, they say, bad actors could effectively reverse engineer countermeasures to avoid detection, thus making it easier for potential terrorists to enter the country. Brett?
So just to make sure that everybody got their head wrapped around that, basically what the Biden admin says is we can't give you any information on this because if we tell you what's really going on at the border, the bad guys will just exploit it and use it even more. So we're not going to tell you anything. I mean, it's unbelievable. Randy, how do you square that? Basically, how does keeping Americans ignorant about the terrorist threat improve national security? How's that work in your mind?
Well, we all know the answer to that, right? It doesn't. It's how you keep them asleep till you can actually pop the surprise, right? I mean, you think about, I was thinking about as I was watching that, you know, and hearing JJ talk about not just on this episode, but several times, and other people reporting that, you know, these people are ditching all their ID before they get so you know what I mean? That and Fox News knows that. The guy talking that report knows that. So why wouldn't he then go ahead and say what he said if it wasn't just straight up propaganda? To make people keep them at ease, man, keep them marching straight ahead. Don't look over here, don't look over there. There's nothing to see. And I think that's really all this is smoke and mirrors. Because clearly, if they're ditching their passports and their IDs and even burning them, somebody's already taught them those strategies, didn't they? Long before they got here. And you think about, I was thinking about, heck, you know, I'm 56 now. I've been in Texas most of my life, with the exception of when I went to the military, which turned out to be about 13 years. And so previously to all that, when people come across the border, it was mainly Mexicans, right? Coming from Mexico back in the day. Traditionally, that's what it was. And then other Spanish-speaking countries slowly started leaking in there. But if we go back to those Biden years, you know, there's no telling, you know, we know Chinese came through. We know Islamists came through. That means everybody came through. So them trying to they're never going to release that information to you, even if they had it. They're just not going to, because it's staggering. And then it might wake some people up.
At the end of the illegitimate installed Biden administration, it came out that illegals from 194 countries crossed our southern border into America. So,
and my point to that is, again, somebody had to put out that message.
Mm-hmm.
That those went out through communication lines to now the door's open, come on in, or that many countries wouldn't have made it through there. It just wouldn't have.
So, Jeff, follow-up question, somewhat rhetorical, but I want to hear your opinion on it. So they're saying we can't release information to the general public because if we do, the bad guys will use that to send more bad guys across our border. But what rationale exists for hiding terrorist apprehension numbers from Congress? Well, how do they justify not sharing that information with Congress?
It'll embarrass them. And Congress will tell people, you know, that little video we saw, what I find humorous about it is, it's like it'll divulge our sources and methods. I'm like, what, asking someone where they're from? That's a super secret method you have for stopping terrorists from getting into the country? Yo, dude, where are you from? Afghanistan. Okay, let me write that down. Okay, you can keep going. They didn't stop them. They didn't arrest them. They just shuffled them on in. What's so hard about writing down where they're from? What's that going to tell you? But, you know, they obviously had a reason to do all of this. It wasn't just laziness. And, you know, they had objectives that they were trying to obtain by doing this. And they don't want everybody to know what that is. And so they don't want anyone to talk about it.
Yeah. So did you want to add something, JJ?
No, I was just agreeing.
Okay. So the last video that I've got queued up here is Laura Ingraham. It's 9 minutes and change. I'm not going to play a 9-minute video, but from tourist to terrorist, y'all will remember this happened in Colorado. He came here on a tourist visa, never left, filed a bogus asylum claim, got a work permit, and then tried to burn Jews alive in Colorado. This is what Biden's open border and broken visa system created. Trump promised mass deportations for a good reason. This isn't just reckless. It's a national security threat. So I'm going to play a portion of this, JJ, then coming to you first.
This is what the left spawned. That's the focus of tonight's angle.
We can't do nothing. We can. Not here.
Before we get to that horrific terror attack in Boulder, Colorado, it is important tonight to understand how we got here. It's because the left loves open borders, they love unlimited immigration, and they love anti-Israel radicalism. And under Biden, all their dreams came true. More than 10 million, well, we'll never really know the real number, of illegal border crosses crossers, gotaways, refugees, special category parolees, and visa overstayers poured into the country. It's a figure so vast that it overwhelms the systems that we have in place to process these people. And that was the goal all along. Too big a number to deport. Also under Biden, the pro-Hamas, pro-Gaza chaos on college campuses terrified Jewish students and disrupted the education of others. This was tolerated and in some cases even encouraged. It was considered cool to be anti-Israel and pro-Palestinian, and the fact that the chants from the river to the sea were the chants of a violent terrorist organization, none of it mattered. Now, Trump was elected in large part, I'd say, because most Americans are sick and tired of being treated like second-class citizens in their own country, as millions are allowed to come here, stay here, side with terrorists, game the system, or even issue demands. This is insane. And the Trump administration is taking action.
So I'm going to go ahead and stop that there. And JJ, question for you. What are the early warning signs that we should be looking out for in our communities to identify potential terrorists like that guy?
Well, we don't have to guess anymore. That, my God, they just come out and they start chanting it and telling you what they're going to do. I think America should just simply open their eyes and their ears and just listen to these people. No one's hiding it. No one's making you guess who they are. You know what's amazing to me, though? If you go look at back of those videos and this guy's ranting and raving, where are the American men? Where are the alpha males? Do they exist anymore? I mean, if I'm in a park with my friends and my family, God forbid my family, and some lunatic starts screaming and throwing fire bombs at people, well, I'm going to run over there. I'm going to decapitate him, right? I'm going to make him feel pain. He's going to submit to me until the police officers get there. Where are the men? They're gone. They don't exist because we've allowed ourselves to become so effeminate, so impotent, so cowardly. And Khalib said it right. We have people that fit the bill of a terrorist, and we're all like, well, don't say anything. Don't say anything about them. Well, why shouldn't I say something about them?
Because it's
racist. Right, it's racist, but my God, who cares anymore? What does racism even mean? What's a Nazi mean anymore? It's worthless. How about you just stand up and do and say what's right? And if you're wrong, okay. Like if someone said, hey, a cop comes up and says, hey, I got a description of someone that looks like you, and they said they're inciting violence. No, I'm just walking my dog. Here's my ID. Okay. I don't care. God, I hope you find the guy that looks like me. I'll keep an eye out for him, right? But we just live in an upside down universe. We do.
Bizarro world. Khalid, same question for you, and then I'm going to flip through a bunch of tabs quickly for Randy and Jeff. But what should we be looking for, Khalid?
First thing you're looking for is men between the age of 18 to about 35.
Mm-hmm.
They are very hesitant to mix with the regular culture. They will maintain their normal style of dress like they maintain back home. They will default to their own language. They'll default to their own culture. They'll spend a lot of time at their mosque or at their masjids. You are also looking for people, and this is the biggest thing that we look for, is when I'm speaking in my home language, if an American walks by, you don't understand what I'm saying anyway, so why would I stop talking?
Yeah.
As soon as that person stops talking, I red flag it. Because there's no reason for you to stop. I don't speak your language. I don't speak Spanish. I don't speak German. I don't speak French. So if I walk past a Frenchman and he stops talking, I'm going, whoa, wait a minute. Why'd he stop talking? And again, I come back to that political correctness. You know what you're looking for. You know what suspicious behavior means. This is not something we need to teach you again. And if I can sit in Pakistan and monitor 5, 6, 7, 8 cities in the US, watch groups as they move and watch them disappear, how can you not do it sitting in your own communities? But it's like JJ says, the alpha male has disappeared. We are scared to death to say anything to anybody because, oh my God, they're going to call me a racist. Dude, If tomorrow this guy comes and starts killing people, are you going to be worried about racism?
Well, they're also afraid of things like Daniel Penny,
Mhm.
the Marine on the subway in New York. It's bizarro world, like you said. It's upside down.
It is bizarro world.
Khalid and JJ, question for you guys before I go to the next one with Randy and Jeff. How many illegals do you guys think came across the border during Biden's 4 years when he was installed for 4 years? And how many do you think are actually here total? Khalid first, then JJ.
Okay, the government says 21 million. I'm going to double it and say about 50 million, because whatever the government says, I think is probably half of what they're really telling us is the truth. That is counting people that came in on forged passports, forged documents. That is counting people that came through the illegal border crossings. That is counting people that were illegally sponsored by people that were in the U.S. already, that came in, burned their passport as soon as they crossed immigration and disappeared. I am at the number about 50 million. And of that 50 million, I would say that maybe 5 to 7% are the kind that you need to be really scared of.
That's 250,000, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, wait a minute. 50 million. That's
Yeah. No. Yeah.
2.5 million. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
shit, JJ.
I'll follow up on that and agree with Khalid. And I have to go right now, Chris. I sent you a text. I apologize.
No
I had
worries.
other obligations, but let me finish with this. In 2019, MIT and Yale came out with a study, and they pushed all the demographic data into an algorithm, ran it 1 million times, and came out with the average of 22 million in 2019. Everyone agreed to it. I knew it was below, but let's just go off of their data. The government agreed 22 million. Under Joe Biden, the federal government has admitted to 18 million people cross the border illegally. 18 million. That's 40 million. I'm telling you that 18 million is BS. It's 30 million crossed in 4 years. There's your 50 million. And Khalid, here's something else that they're whispering now. 60 million.
Yep.
60 million. They're whispering. They're floating the balloon. I'm telling you, it's over 50 million. 30 million people crossed under Joe Biden. 60 to 70% of them were single adult military-age men.
Yep.
60 to 70%. On that, I'll leave you with this. We are the most vulnerable we have ever been in the history of the United States of America, and it is a when and how bad situation that's facing us. Chris, thank you very much.
Two super fast things, JJ. Number one, what kind of man leaves a war-torn country and leaves his wife and children behind?
None. A warrior does. A warrior does.
Number two, have you seen the footage of nobody in the ERs in Los Angeles these days, and the interstate traffic being a fraction of what it was before? It's unreal.
Yes, because once we eradicate these people from our country, and I will say this before I go, Donald Trump is ineffective in his ability to remove the people from our country. Khalid he's at Pakistan. Pakistan, I believe it's almost 8 months ago, arrested and deported over 2 million Afghanis in 30 days. In 30 days. All right. So don't sit there and tell me it can't be done. You're still deporting them. So don't tell me it can't be done. I got to go. Thank you very much, guy. I could talk to you guys forever. And Chris, thanks for spinning me up. Now I got to go calm down.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. So that was an important number that I wanted to get on the table. So let's call it 50 million. We're in the home stretch here. So I'm going to pull up a few different tabs, and I'm not going to read them. I'm just going to give you the headlines essentially. So this article here, CBP encounters unlucky 13 aliens on terror watch list at Southwest border in October. Of course, this is 2023. But don't worry, say experts. It's a fact check that's more spin than fact. Okay, so next one here. Nearly 100 migrants on terror watch list released into U.S. according to the Grand Ole Party. All right. Next one. ICE arrests eight with suspected ISIS ties. Next one. Map shows 16 suspected terrorists arrested across the U.S. after being allowed in by Fed bungles. Alarm bells are ringing. Next one. Feds deport some of the suspected ISIS-tied migrants who slipped into the U.S. I can't remember if it's either 8 or 13 in that article. And last, no, that is the last one there. So to you first, Randy. I mean, the numbers, if it's 50 to 60 million illegals here, JJ's comment that Donald Trump's not being terribly effective is kind of rings true to me.
So you would think almost that's the proverbial carrot on the stick, right? Or a little bit of water in front of the donkey, so it just keeps moving along and it thinks everything's good. I don't know, that it does seem quite low, and then I know they got all this money, but I don't know what's ICE doing now. I mean, it's hard for me to really say, but those numbers on all those releases right there aren't even a scratch on the door compared to what's coming. It's almost like you're going to go put your finger in the dike, right? And that's all you need to do. And this will solve all the world's problems.
Good comparison. Jeff, you're an engineer, you're a numbers guy. What are your thoughts on just the vast, spread between those numbers? 50, 60 million. You're on mute, by the way, Jeff. 50 to 60 million versus we got 8 over here.
It's hard to wrap your brain around sometimes. It's just so big. Now, in Trump's defense, part of his problem is, we've got laws and rules in this country that you've got to follow. You can't just pick someone up off the street, drag them to the border, and chuck them over.
You can't.
Sometimes you wish you could. And I think the other thing they're doing, which is counterproductive, is by focusing purely on the violent criminals first. And I get why they're doing it. It's for the optics.
For sure.
But they could just round up illegals all day long, and they could round up 10,000 tomorrow. But if they had and then move them off. And this idea that you got to fly back to the country of origin is nonsense. It's like, you entered from Mexico, we're sending you back to Mexico. You got to Mexico on your own, you get the rest of the way home. We don't have to give you a plane ticket to Kabul. We'll boot your butts out. But as far as the Democrats go, I think their strategy behind this was, one, flood the zone with people, where it becomes so unmanageable. You go, well, we can't get rid of them. We might as well make them citizens. And then, of course, they're Democrat voters. And in the meantime, it changes the census, so they get more representation from those states like California and New York that attract them. So they get more people, more representation in Congress. And then with the terrorist part, if and when, and it's not an if, it's a when, there's some massive terrorist attack, guarantee you 2 things the Democrats will call for. One, of course, is going to be gun control. It's not terrorist control they want. They'll call for gun control. And the other thing they'll call for, nationalizing the police, have a national police system to where they can, because right now, they can scream and moan, and Texas can basically tell them to go pound sand. But if they federalize local law enforcement, then they can just lay their BS tactics on top of the entire country and no one can do anything about it.
Yeah, that's a scary prospect. The federal.
Well, I think what they've also done, Chris, I think probably before they came up with a plan, because all of what we've said is surely probably what they thought about and wanted. But I guarantee you, before Biden took office, and certainly since Hillary didn't get her 8 years, right? We put them off another 4 years. They took a look at Europe. And as we've mentioned on these lives many times, you look at Europe and the amount that all the Muslims have moved into all those countries and how much it's changed the dynamics already there. And that becomes very attractive to these global elitists.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Khalid, a question for you. Al-Qaeda has said that in their next attack on America, they want a minimum of 50,000 Americans killed. But your intelligence indicates that they're just AQ, not even including the other, groups like Hezbollah, et cetera.
Right.
You're targeting 10 to 15 tier 2 cities, soft targets, schools, office buildings, retail areas, culminating on tier 1 trauma centers. Is that 50,000 number from Al-Qaeda an overall number for 10 to 15 attacks, or are they looking to kill 50,000 in each city?
No, you've got 2 terrorist threats that you're looking at separately. One terrorist threat is Al-Qaeda. That's what Sarah's been working on, is the Al-Qaeda terrorist threat. That is airplanes. What we've been working on is the Islamic State terror threat, which is the tier 1, the tier 2 trauma centers. Now, Al-Qaeda is saying 50 to 60,000 in airplane attacks in the U.S. Our number on top of that is another 30, 40,000. So you are talking close to 100,000 deaths in the United States.
On the
Yeah,
air.
because what was the, do we know what the total, I know we talked about it before, but how many deaths came out of Mumbai for that one attack?
It was 163 dead and 316 injured.
Yeah. With 10 guys with AK-47s and handguns, essentially.
Yeah. Now you've got to figure these terrorists that are in the U.S. right now, they've got AK-47s, they've got AR-15s, they've got flash grenades, they have got suicide jackets on. So when they go in and they know that they're about to be dropped, they're going to detonate them. They're going to clack themselves off. So there's your exponential number jump. Add to that, again, break this into two parts again. Number one is your airplane attack, which is what Al-Qaeda is planning behind what ISIS is doing. ISIS destabilizes the U.S. Everyone moves towards the tier 2 trauma centers. Your airports are left open. Once your airports are left open, planes are hijacked and they're flown into buildings. And there's your level 2 attack. When you look at both of these working together, this is probably something that some really intelligent people sat down and worked this thing out. That we do it this way, we penetrate. Once we penetrate, while they're fighting this fire, we hit them from this side. And there's a third level plan that is for Europe, where 3 cities are targeted in Europe with airplane attacks, not counting what a ground attack assault would look like inside of Europe as well. So when we're talking about this, you are talking about close to 100,000 lives in the US. 100,000 lives lost in terrorist attacks. That will send shockwaves across the world. Shockwaves. And the problem for me is that the number of times we've talked about this, the amount of detail we've gone into with our assessments, we have laid out countries where they've moved in the US. Inside of our assessment, we have broken down the countries that have sent military-age males. What cities in the US you should be looking for them in, where they have migrated to. So we've given you the roadmap. Follow it. And the problem that we have is when you look at what's going on with, for example, you've taken your federal air marshals, you've told them they can no longer carry weapons on planes. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Just in the last week, the 2 incidents we saw on the air on airplanes, one guy who's going to clack himself off that said he had a bomb, and the airplane passengers got him under control. And then we had the Indian girl who was trying to open the door, the emergency exit on the plane at 30,000 feet. And it took 5-7 people just to calm her down, turn the plane around and go back to where it had taken off from. What are we talking about? You are making America more and more defenseless. You are not making it stronger. You are making it defenseless. And the sad part is the guy who issued the order for the federal air marshals is a Biden appointee.
Yeah, I caught that. It's insanity. So just want to pull a couple quick things up. You can go to command11.com, spelled out just like you see on screen right there. So the word, not the numbers, to check out Khalid's group. He's got an amazing group of people that gather intel, publish some very interesting exclusive information. If you're on X, you can follow him on X as well, at command11. Again, spell it all out. And he's been just a tremendous source of information for us, that's for sure. But suffice it to say, where we're at right now is there's no ifs, ands, or buts. There are many, many terrorists inside of America. They were here before Biden, but when Biden got installed, that number went exponentially higher, an order of magnitude higher. And again, it's not a matter of if, it's when this happens. And it's going to be, just think of what happened after 9/11, regardless of what your personal feelings and theories are and how we got to that point. That's 3,000 casualties. Khalid's saying 100,000 casualties. That will change this country and the world forever, essentially. So I want to give a shout out to Bruno Belanger for submitting yesterday's best stories. Let me pull that up here. quickly. It's a good one. Put a smile on your face after all the doom and gloom stuff. So Bruno submitted this video of Sydney Sweeney showing off her shooting skills. And of course, all the liberals losing their minds on how this is eugenics, it's racist. Yeah, whatever. You know what? Stuff it. 1 minute, 13 seconds. Hats off to Sydney Sweeney, by the way.
Hey, eyes up here.
Wow. 9:21. Oh my God, girl. Your first time? That was really good.
You're going dog nuts.
Girl. Yes.
Hey, I'm impressed.
Sweeney has great splits.
Those last two shots on top of each other.
You see what I did there, right?
Pretty good. I'd be really proud if I were you. Yeah.
For your first day, that's pretty good.
Thank you.
Where do you want to go? Oops, it's her.
Cool. Thank you, Sydney.
Nice. Of course. Thank you.
Waves in Idaho.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Hats off to Sydney Sweeney. She has great genes.
Well, you know, Chris, what I've noticed, and certainly with all these Democrats, and lately, and certainly in the last 10 years, you know, usually the people that are calling out other people for racist seem to actually be the ones that are racist.
Yeah. If you watch on X some of the interviews with these
it's terrible.
fat slob, homely liberal women
Oh yeah,
going off on Sydney Sweeney, they're just a bunch of jealous fat ass bitches. Period. There's no other way to state it.
Yep.
And that they can't stand the fact that there's beautiful women and that we would celebrate beautiful women. And by the way, all of our women on our side are good looking and a great shot as well. just check out my wife at the range for that matter. So let's hit the conflicted question and wrap this up. Do you think physical ability or knowledge will be more valuable to your group in a survival scenario? Would you rather team up with a 70-year-old female who lived through depression but is crippled by arthritis? She knows how to live off the grid but needs almost every physical assistance. Or would you rather work with a 28-year-old man who only offers a strong back to your group? Jeff, I'm going to go to you first this time.
I'm going to go with the young guy because I can teach him. She's 70 with arthritis. Hell, I'm 64 with a touch of arthritis in the knee. So I've already checked that box. I don't need another one. So no, I'm looking for the one that can help me physically and can be trained.
Yeah.
Amen to that. Khalid, do you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I echo what Jeff said. Take the 28-year-old. We can train him. We can teach him. He's much more effective for us than the 70-year-old. I mean, yeah, great. You have the experience, but you bring too much baggage with you for us to be able to carry that along, especially in a conflict environment.
Yeah, fair enough. And by the way, we want to see your answers in the live chat comment section down below, or put them on our Substack, survivaldispatch.news. Randy, your thoughts?
Why do I got to choose?
Bingo. That was
I mean, I'm thinking if I got the 28-year-old with a strong back, pick her up. Let's go. and in all honesty, folks, at the post-apocalyptic, I would be very surprised if the 70-year-old makes it through those waves, but it is possible. Yeah. And to me, I would just have him pick her up and take her. I mean, obviously, you know, there's a whole lot more. We don't ever have enough context to truly answer these questions because are you where you need to be? Are you having to leave? All this stuff weighs in. How much supplies do you have? And so anyway, but my first thought was, why do I got to pick, man? If he's strong, pick her up and let's go.
Either or question.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
I'm with you, Randy. I was thinking the same thing. Why has it got to be one or the other? But if it had to be one or the other, for the reasons you guys stated, I would take the younger guy because we can definitely train him. But they're definitely interesting questions. Conflictedthegame.com. Quick reminder, head over to survivaldispatch.news, sign up for a free Substack account. You'll get our daily situation reports, typically published before noon, covers the video that's coming at 7 p.m. that night. You'll get our Saturday watch guide, links to everything we publish for the week. If you decide to sign up for $7.99 a month or $75 a year, you get 2.5 months for free. You get enrolled in the SDEN system, Survival Dispatch Emergency Notification System. We've only had to use it once before. You get access to our super high traffic private Signal chat, which is where the story of the day comes from. And the one from Bruno came from there. Our entire library of 37 e-magazines. Previous owner of Survival Dispatch spent over $1 million in payroll producing those 37 magazines. You get them for free when you sign up on Substack as a member. You get early access to instructional videos from JJ Morris, and on the daily sit reps, you also get a second part to them that has links to all of the sources that we used to put that story together. John's going to be back tomorrow night, usual time, 7 p.m. Eastern. I will be back on Wednesday with Jeff, Randy, and Khalid for the next episode, in our series on the road to the next 9/11. And it's going to be focused on trauma centers, the new command posts of chaos. And nobody knows this better than Khalid. He's the one who broke the whole story on this stuff months before anybody else, back in April. But I want to thank everybody out there as a paying subscriber. I want to thank our vendors, that sponsors like Carnival. We don't get paid affiliate commission from Carnival. They give us a monthly stipend. Yeah, he's got his hat on. They give us a monthly stipend that helps us defer a bunch of expenses. We spend over $3,000 a month just in software subscriptions alone. We appreciate that very much. Carnival.com. Use the code EATMEAT, get 10% off. Randy, your impressions of Carnival meat before we put a lid on this thing.
Man, I even just had some yesterday. I was sitting around. I didn't have it. I'll have leftovers meat that I'll put into eggs and, all kind of stuff. And I was sitting there kind of going, man, I don't have any. And then I was like, oh, yes, I do. So I went and grabbed some of the Carnival beef, man, and put it in the eggs. And it was amazing. And it's so easy because it's not something you got to cook for hours. Nice. It is very easily mixed into whatever you're making. Now it depends on whether I'm going to marinate it with the water, with the seasoning, or if I wait till it cooks in with so to me, it's a no brainer.
I said to Dean and Mike that own the company, I said, curses on you guys. We're supposed to be stacking this stuff up because, a hurricane hits us or something. I can't leave it on the shelf. I have to eat it. My
Send
wife,
more.
She goes in the pantry. She's like, where'd all the Carnival go? I don't know. Dogs must have got it.
Wasn't me.
I'm telling you, it's really, really good stuff. Anyway, Khalid, really appreciate your time. I know it's super early over there in Pakistan. Can't thank you enough for your insight and your time. Same, of course, for Jeff and Randy. We'll be back on Wednesday night. Between now and then, please like, share, comment, subscribe. God bless America.
God bless America.
God bless everybody.
And
Red Skelton. any comedian use his show to do serious issues. That's not what I'm there for. Can't they see that? But you're not. Why do they think that just because you have a Tonight Show that you must deal in serious issues? That's a danger. It's a real danger. Once you start that, you start to get that self-important feeling that what you say has great import. And you know, strangely enough, you could use that show as a forum. You could sway people. And I don't think you should as an entertainer.